After 21 years of roaming the sidelines, Ray Beaupre has decided to retire as head football coach at North Attleborough High School. I had a chance to look back with some of the people Ray has worked with and influenced throughout his career.
In the spring of 1968, the school committee and superintendent decided to make a change both in football and basketball. I was approached for the football job, and of course, being a North Attleborough High graduate, I was quite honored by even being considered. I did, however, have some stipulations, and being only 25 years old, I think the superintendent said, what kind of stipulations can a 25-year-old kid have being offered a head job? And one of the stipulations, the major one, was to have my own staff. And Ray and I, of course, had been captains here in the fall of '60 together. We grew up together. Our families vacationed together. And one of my priorities was to bring him from Vermont to join the new staff.
Well, I actually started in 1968 at North Attleborough. I came back with, at 22, 23 years old, with about 4 or 5 friends of mine that all played in high school together. And at the time, North Attleborough football was in pretty tough shape. The year before we came back, they hadn't won a game. So we didn't know a heck of a lot, but we had a heck of a lot of enthusiasm, and started with that enthusiasm and then built on our knowledge of the game. And I think probably my basic philosophy from when I started was to try to treat every kid fairly and treat him as if it was your own son.
I've known Ray since perhaps the times when he was an assistant coach to Bob Guthrie. Certainly over the years that Bob has been that Ray has been a head coach, the results speak for themselves. He's had excellent teams, and coaching is not just winning and losing. It is doing so in a positive way, being a role model for youngsters, and Ray's certainly done that.
Well, the North Attleborough rivalry has always been a fantastic rivalry. Last year was the 75th game, and it was a great event bringing back the captains from the past. But over the last maybe 15, 20 years, the rivalry kind of turned into North Attleborough's favor, and a lot of that was due to Ray Beaupre and his staff and the way he's developed his athletes over there. We like to think that lately we have brought a little competitiveness back into the game, where Attleborough did win a couple of years ago, and the last 4 games have been very competitive. And it's great being from North Attleborough. I mean, nobody wants to go into that game seeing a one-sided game, but a lot of that was due to Ray Beaupre and his staff.
In games and wins for the program, I think Thanksgiving Day of '92, when we had a kind of a tough season, Attleborough at the time was going to the Super Bowl, and we weren't given much of a chance, and we went down and won down in Attleborough, which was kind of nicknamed by the kids the Miracle in the Mud. It was a day of a rain and slop. That was probably the most important win I was involved in after the season we had, and I think it was the springboard into '93's undefeated Super Bowl team. So I would say that was one of the games that I will always remember for the pure emotion of the game.
You know, I think he's been his kids have always played hard, and they're good kids, sportsmanship-wise. And, you know, I like to think our kids have always done that too, played hard and have been good kids. But, you know, it seems like that school has kind of set the tone for that, and that's a reflection of him.
He'll be remembered as maybe the greatest coach in the history of North Attleborough High School, but bottom line, I think what he did for the young men and women at North Attleborough is the way to measure it. And I know I'm sitting here right now as a coach because of what Ray Beaupre did for me in high school, and I really appreciate how much of an impact he made, and I hope I can only, come close to what he did at North Attleborough, what I'm doing here at Mansfield.
One of the reasons that I retired now, and I certainly probably have the energy to coach a couple more years, or may coach again. I don't know. I mean, I just didn't want it ever to be a burden, and it seemed like my time was less and less, and my chance to spend with the kids in the off season in the weight room was becoming more and more difficult to find that time that's so necessary. So before it became a burden, I didn't want to ever be the old guy that won't get out of the way, and especially with the guys I have coaching. So I thought it was a perfect timing for me to step aside, take a look, and who knows, maybe 5 or 6 years when I retire full-time, I may be a line coach somewhere and be happy. I don't know.
And although Ray Beaupre is stepping aside, he has built such a strong program here at North Attleborough High School that the Red Rocketeer tradition should continue for many years to come.
For North TV, this is Steve Janzura.